So on that story, then we're joined now by Peter Major to give us some analysis. Peter, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this afternoon. Starting January 1st, followed by a phase-in approach in terms of restriction. First, you will have direct ban of the Russian diamonds, and then you'll have indirect imports of Russian gems also being banned from around March. How big is the Russian influence or volume of diamonds on the market and their market share?
It's very large, Tabu. It's the largest of all the producers. I would say Russia produces 35% of the 120 million carats of diamonds. So that's 35%. That's just over a third. By value, it's not quite that large. Botswana, by value, is number one. Their raw diamonds are about $5 billion a year. Russia's production is a little larger than Botswana, but its value is probably 3.5 to 4.5. Let's say $4 billion. So Botswana is the biggest in the world, $4 billion worth a year. Botswana 5, Russia 4. Next would be Canada with probably 1.5, Angola with 2. So, yeah, say Russia's 35% of the volume, and they're at least 25% of the value.
And
that's big.
What is likely to be exactly? I want to talk about that bigness. What is likely to be the potential disruption for small diamond firms who are potentially employing millions of people, especially if you're looking at a country like India?
You're spot on, Tommy. That's what we got to look at with these sanctions. Russia is a big, strong country. They've lived under sanctions most of the last 100 years. And you say, $4 billion worth of diamonds. What if they couldn't sell any of them? When you look at the volume of oil they're selling, the volume of natural gas, I don't want to say this is a drop in the bucket, but it's going to hurt the people that are buying these diamonds, cutting them. It's going to hurt the middlemen. So I think the EU has thought this through, but it shows how serious they are. You know, they want this war to stop. And it's not just the value of the diamonds. They're going to ban at least 140 individuals and organizations when they put this ban on the 1st of January. And so they're trying to make it as wide-ranging as possible against Russia, but it is going to hurt the outside world more than it's going to hurt Russia. But if you really want something, maybe you got to be prepared to take a little pain. So I give the Europeans credit. They're going to take more pain than Russia is by doing this, and they're hoping this ban and other measures will speed up the end of the war.
India saying that flexibility in the timelines would do the industry a whole lot of good, recognizing, of course, the diversity of the industry. Why is India making that call?
Look, anybody benefiting by producing and selling these diamonds, by cutting these diamonds, they're going to want to delay the ban as long as possible. You can imagine if you and I were cutters and we were getting a quarter or a half our production from Russia, and now we're not allowed to buy it. Gee, this is a body blow to a lot of industry, to a lot of the people in the industry. And India is the largest cutter by far, so they're probably going to get hit the hardest, much harder than the Europeans or the Americans, North and South.
When demand is under pressure, I mean, what would that mean for a country like South Africa? I don't know how much volume of diamonds do we bring in and cut here in the country, although we do mine some in some parts of South Africa.
This is definitely a plus for South Africa because our diamond cutting industry isn't large, and it's mainly centered on our own diamonds. And South African diamonds, they're not top of the range, but they're pretty close. And anything that drives up the price of diamonds is going to benefit South Africa. So even though we're in BRICS with Russia, this is benefiting. South Africa is probably one of the few places to directly benefit from this. I would say Canada, they're a large producer. In fact, the other African countries, Angola, Namibia, all the producers will benefit, the non-Russian producers, because they're going to get a higher price for their diamonds. So there's going to be some kind of support. But Russia diamonds will probably be shipped through various middlemen, and they'll come in at a big discount. So that's going to work against the diamond price going up because of a shortage. Because you can bet the majority of those 42 million carats produced by Russia, certainly the gem quality ones, they will find a way through. But it is possible to identify them, too, with a lot of work and effort.
Exactly. Those are the two questions that are being asked now. Is one, how the origin of the diamonds is now going to be checked, but two, where it should be done. And if you look at the kind of technology, I suppose, the certification systems that it would require, it's said that maybe African producers might find it a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. You'll probably have to have a very high penalty for the instances when it's picked up. Because if there's 120 million carats being produced a year, how are you going to check all those carats? What will happen is some kind of inspection will be done at high-profile retail centers. And it'll probably start with the largest gems. You know, some of these diamonds are very, very small. You're not going to waste time probably looking at the Walmart diamonds that are very small, very low grade. You're going to look at the big ones that take up lots of attention, go for high prices, Tiffany's, Browns. I would imagine that's where they're going to start. They're going to start on very high profile, high turnover places, and probably the retailers that are known for using Russian diamonds, because it is a high quality diamond.
Of course, diamonds have remained a stumbling block with the G7 countries, or at least the EU, trying to squeeze Russia. Do you think this is a good way of squeezing Russia's economy?
Like I said at the very start of this, Thabo, it's not going to hit the average Russian very hard, and not in large numbers like it's going to hit the people who buy the diamonds, process them, cut them, package them, sales. I think, though, they're hoping the 140 individuals and organizations that get targeted along with this, they have a better chance of lobbying the government to speed up some kind of resolution in Ukraine. The average person in Russia, he doesn't have much clout. I don't think he's had much clout changing government's attitude in 100 years. Probably in the history of Russia, the individual probably hasn't had much clout. But if it's 140 profile businessmen and organizations, they should have a fair amount of lobbying power. It's a noble step, but you don't want to have it easy to evade, because then it makes a farce of sanctions. So I hope a lot more thought goes through this than some of the sanctions that were hastily put in place and were easily evaded. If they're not going to be effective and they're going to be a farce, it's better not to do them. Do something that's enforceable and that most people agree with and will support.
So the proposed model of making Belgium almost the processing port city of Antwerp, the main dominant global trading hub, is that going to work?
It's a good place to start, but Antwerp is nothing like it was decades ago. They don't have nearly the cutters they used to. Their cutters are quite expensive. Israel doesn't even have the number of cutters they used to. India is the predominant cutter, and they made their name on taking low-grade, low-quality diamonds, very small diamonds, because they had low cost of labor, but they want a piece of the big action. And I'll tell you, in 40 years of cutting, the Indians they've gone a long ways up the curve. They're requesting, demanding, and being given larger parcels of larger diamonds. So there's good cutters there. And obviously, India probably employs more cutters and subsidiary personnel on the diamond side than the rest of the world put together. Arguably 1 million people. So, yeah, they're going to feel the heat, the pain of this more than any other country. And Antwerp, look, they'll feel it because they do deal at the top end of the curve. And because Russia puts out 42 million carats, they put out a lot of upper quality. But without a doubt, if you say the number of people that are going to take it on the nose, it's India by far.
Peter Major, appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on this afternoon. Mining analyst there, Peter Major, following that announcement by the G7 countries.